Hey, welcome to First Geek Hungry. If you hadn't noticed, the last two times we've gathered, that the camera is no longer at this weird angle down here, trying to look up at me and look odd. Because I've mentioned before, we slowly but surely change things and improve things, and so now we have a tripod. $1.99 from Goodwill, but it's a tripod and it works, and we can actually lift this up so that when we have guests, it's not as important to me. If it's down at a low angle, it makes me look fat. Well, I'm already kind of low fat. It doesn't help any. But when we have guest speakers, I would like them to look as good as possible. So it's nice to be able to get this up and look right. In case you don't know, First Geek Congregation is held at the Center of Wichita. If you've never heard of the Center of Wichita, it's an LGBT QIA, or however many letters you like to add after that, because I'll admit I don't track them all. Center for wow, just suddenly gone.
So they have a safe place.
Thank you. So they have a safe place. There's a teen gathering center here, for instance. There's different groups that appear here, and yes, we're in an LGBT area. That doesn't necessarily mean we're an LGBT church. It just means we're or congregation. Excuse me. It just means we're friendly to everybody, which is fun here in Kansas right now. As there's a great schism over gay marriage going on right now, marriage equality, and I like the term marriage equality a lot better than gay marriage. And if you've not been tracking the news, oh come on, you got to have heard of it by now, where the feds have said one thing and Kansas is saying another, and well, all sorts of fun stuff. But the reason why I mention it is this place is one of the places to come if somebody's looking for a safe place to be, where others are also of similar mindsets. And they also is also the home for Equality Kansas. Equality Kansas is part of the people that are fighting that fight to make sure that everybody has the same equal rights. And I'm proud to be here in this building where they're fighting that fight. I think this is fantastic. And I'm looking forward to the day here where Kansas finally gets it right. And you know what? We don't worry about it. Just let people be happy. Hopefully that happens one of these days, years, centuries. Well, there's only a certain number of states that have gotten it right yet anyways, so.
Shouldn't even be an issue, but it is.
But it is. And it will continue to be an issue for another 2 generations. Even if we get laws passed that say it's okay, it's still going to be an issue for another 2 generations, because that's just how we tend to work here in America. We have a short memory for some things, but it's culturally ingrained enough, we've got problems with remembering it. So anyways, the Center of Wichita, look at their website one of these days at thecenterofwichita.org. They're at 800 North Market. Obviously, you can come down here and visit us during Sundays between 2, 10, and 4 o'clock. But take a look at their website. They're always looking for help. This center that we're standing in, this is just one room out of a 4-room setup that they have. The next room, which we're waiting on bated breath for them to have done, is a much larger area, for instance, with a projector and all sorts of stuff. They still need help, though. Places like this always need help because it's just ran out of donations, and so they could use your help monetarily, or even coming down and helping them do some of the work. So, anyways, I just want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to take a look at them. Anyways, First Geek Congregation, ourselves today, we're supposed to be talking about war. At least that's what I said last week. We are going to talk about war, just not yet. Just a moment. We'll get to that. I got a pet peeve that I've got to throw out here, and I saw this last night. So this is why it wasn't like in 2 weeks ago saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to talk about war." No. And I shot a picture of this, and I'd love to share the picture with you, but we're not that technologically advanced at the moment. When we get the projector and everything else, we're going to be changing a little bit of our chain for this sort of thing. But anyways, what it was is a healing revival. And yeah, and it lists that it's a century 2, so it's not just like some small little space. And they list, and I say this, they list acid reflux disease healed, bone cancer healed. You can't say that. Here's to start with. We're in Kansas. Kansas has some pretty tight rules about things like this for a reason, because there was a lot of scammers that used to exist. Snake oil salesmen, literally. If anybody doesn't know the history behind snake oil salesmen, there was actually a snake venom that had some slight healing properties. Well, they started selling these snake oil things. They don't actually have any of the venom in them. They had nothing in them. Actually, most of the stuff they had in them was quite poisonous. But none of it, 100% none of it was actually snake oil. The other thing is that I am and this is a personal opinion, okay? And I know that some people would be insulted by my personal opinion. I am very much against faith healing. Very, very much against faith healing. And the reason why, to start off with, most of the time it's a game of suckers. They prey on people. For instance, this thing, which is obviously must be for the good of the community, the good of believers. Of course, it costs $10 at the door, and they take donations. It's not about healing; it's about the money. Now, I admit we have a donation box here. We don't take a whole lot. I don't care. Whatever this place doesn't pay for itself, I pay it out of my pocket. Big deal. This is not about doing money. This is about doing good. This sort of thing is more about doing money. And Kansas has had a long history of people come through and do that. Oral Roberts, great example. And here's the best part. Almost every time somebody talks about faith healing, those people have been proved to be frauds every time. So, psychic surgery is a bunch of chicken guts that you hold in one hand, another thing, and you pull them out the other. It's a magic trick. And if people don't understand that it's a magic trick by now, they need to really, really get a grasp on reality. But also the faith healing portion of things, you see people faint from the Spirit of God. Well, actually what happens is the first 3 or 4 people are actually plants. So the first 3 or 4 people do it, and the next person who gets up there, they want to be healed. They want to believe they want to be healed. So they will go ahead and do the fallback thing just like everybody else. Also, by the way, it helps if somebody hits you in the forehead rolls. If you've never seen it, there's some great videos of people just being slightly shy of being decked. I'm not kidding. These guys, and it's amusing to watch. Go on YouTube, watch some of these guys. And it's such theatrics. It is ridiculous. And it's a scam. I'm not saying not to pray. Far from it. In fact, actually, even for those that are non-believers, even for those that are non-religious, faith in something when you're sick often helps the body. Even if it's just faith in your medication itself. If you believe that's going to help you, surprisingly discovered over the last 30, 40 years, it does help. It does help. It is something. And having faith in God, that He's going to cure you, that He's going to heal you, is great. But a friend of mine who's not a Christian, she's very much pagan, runs, has little crystals and things like this. She said it best: don't go off your meds in favor of a rock. Additionally, God gave us the wisdom to take our medication. God gave it, go for it.
I think it's significant that the story of the Good Samaritan didn't involve the Samaritan just standing there and praying over the guy. He actually got him on the donkey and took him to a place and paid people to take care of him. And it's kind of like, also there's a spot where I think Paul, I can't remember for sure, but I think Paul was the one that said, what kind of faith can how can faith without good deeds is dead? Because what kind of faith would it be if you saw your brother or sister hungry and cold without clothes and just said to them, go ahead and be well fed and clothed, and walked away? You didn't actually give them food or clothes.
I agree with you. And actually, the actual term for the argument is faith versus works. And I'm a believer of both together.
evidence of faith.
Yeah, I mean, we have to do these things. We do them because we're good people. We also do them, and I say this, we do them because we're good people, but we also do them because we have faith. Me personally, when it comes to this whole issue, have faith, pray, you know, all these things. Don't fall for scams, don't fall for BS, don't fall for anybody who tells you that medication is not the way to heal you. I know somebody personally that in another congregation that gave up on the idea of chemotherapy and things like this, which chemotherapy, for those who've never been through it, I haven't, is a horrible, nasty process. It is disgustingly bad to your body, and actually will lead to other cancers. I mean, there's an 80% chance that you're going to get something else wrong afterwards.
My mom told us about it because she has cancer and she didn't want to take it.
Yeah, and my mom did go through that and went through radiation therapy and a couple other things. It is bad on the body. It's horrible stuff. But if your goal is to live and to continue, you're probably going to have to look at that as an option. Well, when this guy decided that yes, he wanted to live and he wanted to continue, but he's going to use baking soda. Now, there's an internet tale going around that baking soda will cure your cancers. And the reason why, there's actually a scientific reason why they say that they come to this conclusion, but unfortunately, it was bad science. The conclusion itself was bad science. There is a high acidity level to the bloodstream of a lot of people who are cancer patients. It's a little bit elevated. Not even just like off the scale, just a little bit elevated. Well, the theory being, by taking all of this baking soda, it reduces your acidity levels. Well, actually, all it does is reduce the acidity levels in your stomach. You can't take enough to actually affect the acidity levels of the bloodstream, which is where you have to be. And unfortunately, there's people that believe this. There's people that believe that crap, and there are stories about using lemons, stories about all of these different things, but they're not medicine. Nor is prayer by itself just medicine. It is not a pill that is designed to save our lives. It's a pill designed to save our souls. Don't get me wrong. It's a pill designed to remind us of who we are. It's a pill designed for a lot of things, and it does help us. But all this stuff, all these people like this just prey on others. So it really, really makes me angry. So yeah, that's my whole script.
There's a story I saw on the internet that I don't remember where it came from, but it was like a reference where there was it's kind of like a joke, but it's not a joke. But basically, there's this lady who really, really believed in God, and she was on I guess she was on a building because the ground was flooding, and basically somebody came up with the boat and offered her to get on the boat and go, to get out of the flooding. And she was like, no, I'm waiting for God to save me. And then somebody else came by with helicopter because of it, the water was raising and she would, that the flooding was going to get her. And she's like, no, I'm waiting for God to save me. And then eventually she got flooded and died and went to heaven. And she was like, why didn't you save me? I sent the guy with the boat and I sent the guy with the helicopter. And what did you want me to do?
Oh, I've heard that one before. I think that is a fantastic analysis of it. God sends us doctors. He gives us wisdom. We have researched so many amazing things. Why wouldn't we use these things? That's the mystery to me. Why would it just be prayer? Prayer, in your example, prayer brought about the boat. Prayer brought about the helicopter, and they refuse it. If they refuse a doctor, are they in the same situation? I don't know. My opinion,
God to come down in person the same?
Well, considering God hasn't come down in person to talk to a whole lot of people, mainly just Moses. I'm not really personally. I would not hold out for that. I really wouldn't. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't.
It's pretty hopeful to me.
Yes.
Seems like a very high requirement.
That saved me.
Well, and again, we're given these tools. Why would we use the tools? We don't ask God to plant our fields for us. We're supposed to go out and plant them,
Yes.
to grow them, to cultivate them. He'll bring the rain. He'll make the things happen for us. That's what a lot of the stories of the Israelites was about. Was that yes, you guys are going to have to do these. You're going to have to do the work. I'll make the rest of it happen, but you got to get this far along.
Another thing that gets me about the faith healing, it's kind of like people trying to take shortcuts. Like they're trying to call upon the power of God.
Like it's a circus trick.
Like it's a circus trick and use it immediately to circumvent any real work in any getting better or getting well.
That's an interesting point. I really hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah, because instead of praying and actually, maybe eating well and exercising and seeing your doctor or doing the things you need to do to get better, you're asking God to make you well right then and there, and then aside from there, it's like if you're not doing it, well, then here's a guy who professes to be able to do it for you for cover charge. That's a lot of presumption. Presumption gets me.
I didn't check to see which room it was in, etc. too, because it does make me curious. Are we talking about one of the concert halls full of people doing this, or is this?
And I wonder if there'll be snakes and dancing. And if so, how large are snakes and how hungry were they?
Okay.
But you do have a good point. That it's a shortcut. That's the idea that it's low effort. And then, well, if that low effort thing doesn't work, then maybe the guy who professes to have a better connection with God than I do, maybe he'll give me a shortcut to do it instead.
Mm-hmm.
And well, let's face it, we like shortcuts.
Yeah.
I mean, as a
It's
people.
definitely our culture.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, immediate gratification, and to me, that sometimes I think that's what a lot of people's faith actually is. It is immediate gratification. They're not praying to God because they, believe in a higher power per se. They're wanting results right now.
Well, I agree with that. I really do. There are people that, like I'm not. I'm actually very much. I refer to myself as a pessimistic optimist or optimistic pessimist. Everything sucks, but it's going to get better. And that kind of falls into that category. And people want everything now. We're in a society of now. I've got an app for talking to my wife. I couldn't wait till I get home. I just text her because I want that gratification right then. I'm surprised nobody has created an app for prayer to heal your bone cancer. I'm surprised that has not occurred yet, and I've said that it probably will exist here shortly. Which I actually,
That's kind of a funny thought because I think there are like prayer wheels and things where they just turn them.
Yeah. Well, prayer wheels. Prayer wheels is a little bit weird and a dedication thing. It's actually co-opted from other religions. The idea is prayer wheels aren't a shortcut per se, as they are setting up. They're a meditation, almost a meditative technique, because you have a standardized prayer that occurs.
Toning that prayer over and over.
Yes, it's similar to doing, if for anybody who's ever been involved in doing the rosary, it's quite prayer wheels and the rosary are actually mentally they're related. And some people are going to be horrified that I just said that. They're related, trust me.
Repetitive prayers.
Repetitive prayer, because you got 4, then 1, 4, then 1, 4, then 1 as you work your way around. I did the rosary when I was a kid. It's an interesting process. I don't necessarily recommend.
I've read about it.
But it's an interesting process to be in a room full of people who are doing it. Because if you go into a room full of Buddhist monks who are chanting, well, that's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Well, the Catholics aren't the only ones that have rosaries.
Yeah,
They
well,
they're different prayer beads. They have different names, but they're the same sort of thing.
same school of thought. You're right. And I picked Catholicism and the rosary for a reason. It's the most identifiable one. Everybody.
It's more people.
It's not like I go out of my way to do it either.
It's the one that came to mind.
Yeah, it's the one that comes to mind. And let's face it, anything from Boondock Saints to however other many movies that are out there have shown the rosary and shown it in act. Somebody doing it in action. So it's a little more pop culture, a little more identifiable. Would be why I picked on it in general. And most people actually wouldn't know what a prayer wheel is in a lot of the other religions, for instance. Maybe if they've seen Golden Child with Eddie Murphy, they might have seen a brief glimpse of a prayer wheel. That's about it. And then it was not properly used anyways.
You're saying Hollywood didn't use it correctly?
They never do that.
Hollywood lied to me?
Did you ever notice in Hollywood that apparently, it's not a Kansas phenomenon, we don't have it here, but in Hollywood, every time a car turns the corner, the tires squeal. Every time. I can stand out on the road out here and listen to people go around the corner and nobody ever squeals. I've never figured that one out.
It's just be bad driving.
I think we got bad tires in Hollywood.
Oh.
I think that's bad. That or they're lying to us. I don't know. Because they did that whole adaptation of Noah. That's perfectly faithful adaptation, wasn't it?
Yeah, the fireballs and whatnot.
Anyways.
I can't exactly attest to that because I refuse to watch it.
I have not seen it. Quite honestly, I never saw it. I saw the lead into the movie. That was it.
And I know that's kind of hypocritical to be bashing a movie that you've never seen, but I saw the trailer and I was like, no.
I don't have to take cocaine to speak out against cocaine.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
There are times where you can speak out on something without having firsthand experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it because it didn't look like a good movie. To me, it wasn't even relevant whether or not it was a good adaptation of the Bible or not. It just wasn't going to be a good movie. Never mind. No.
Just didn't want to spend money on this and then spend an hour or so of my life.
Yeah.
Fireball. Because Noah's a wizard.
We have to
Just splitting the world isn't enough magic. The whole world.
He's got to be a wizard too. Come on,
Harry, you're a wizard.
Come on, Gandalf, get on the boat.
I was trying to explain First King Congregation to somebody recently. It was actually last night.
Really?
And I realized I have a hard time explaining what this is anymore.
Yeah, I don't even try anymore. I just say church. Well, it's like, can you? It's like, are you available on Sundays? No, from 2 to 4. I got church. Because it's just so much simpler. It's just, oh, church, okay. Oh, yeah. A little head bow. Okay, church, I understand. Yeah. A little more somber, and they're like, okay, I understand. And they a lot of leeway. It was like, oh, no, I gotta go first decom. Like, what's that? Well, it's kind of a mixture of blah, 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 blah. And they're all like, are you on cocaine?
In fact, actually, last night, the reason why it came to mind, last night, I had saw that poster that in a local store for the healing of bone cancer through prayer. And I come back into where we're eating at. I sit down with Kat, and I just kind of went off. I do this every once in a while. Just kind of go off. And my wife just kind of nods at me. She does it go away eventually. But the guy next to us heard me going off about this. And struck up a conversation with us, and we're kind of talking about this stuff. He goes, "Oh, you must just really love religion." I said, "No, you don't understand. I actually run a congregation." He goes, "Wait, what?"
Yes,
I
I
said, "No, I
love
just,
religion. This is picking me off because it's, dragging it through the mud.
I just eat this stuff. This is bull. I like religion." He was like, "What are you run? First Geek Congregation. What's that?" And that's where the problem starts, trying to.
Then it unravels from there.
It's hard to. It's really kind of gotten hard to explain, because originally there was just a little thing, there's order of service, all those things that we're going to do, and it's like no, let's just talk. It's much more interesting. Let's just talk. I could get up here and I could lead prayers all day, but you know what? I'm not the guy for that. I really ain't. So
yeah, I was kind of hoping, like you're walking around, like you have like a little staff and stuff. I was kind of hoping like you'd have a staff with like Iron Man or something like that. Let us pray when Tony Stark descended from.
No.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
We recall her ordeal with Magneto. That's our thing, yeah.
Yes, anyways. So yeah. Maybe we'll have to get on the other topic. I don't know.
Maybe. Or maybe, good way to raise funds for charity, of course. Outside of this revival, since there's apparently going to be a whole bunch of head boppage, we can sell ice packs.
No.
Aspirin
and ice packs. They're needed. Because apparently God has cured your bone cancer, but he gave you a headache.
A wicked headache, yes.
Oh. Oh dear.
I also from time to time, this wasn't part of the original thing, but also from time to time I see on Facebook people saying, pray for our family. All right, well, I know these people. Pray for them. Pray for my friend. What friend do I? Who do I address the prayer to? I'm supposed to pray for your friend.
I have a list.
I'm a little confused on how this works. God,
please save that friend from whatever it is that's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that from time to time on Facebook. I understand people's good thinking about it. And actually, the last place that I went to, from time to time, they would do a gathering, a prayer over somebody for wishing them to be better, praying for them to be healed, or even for them to get out of dangerous situations or things like that. I always thought that was great, because not because I believe that prayer alone is going to heal these people, but the fact that all these people would get together and care. And usually the process, and I don't know if there's a formalized process for this per se, is one person would be on one side touching the person's shoulder, one person would be on the other side, and you kind of form this little chain where everybody's kind of touching each other. Human touch matters a lot, especially for people who are sick. It's been shown that like Reiki may not be completely BS to a certain degree. I think some of the people I've met are full of it, but it may not be completely BS because there's a bit of truth about somebody showing caring in that physical touch. So seeing these people do this, I think it's worthwhile. When I see it on Facebook, I'm just thinking, it's been sanitized to this point now. There
isn't any touch.
Yeah. What exactly am I doing here? I'm a little confused.
It's difficult to care when you don't even know why. You're like, okay, God, please help out this person that I don't know from whatever it is that's happening.
Please hit like.
Dear Lord,
please like.
A friend of mine,
like
a friend of a friend of mine has a vague situation going on.
Well,
and they need help.
Allergy, more than likely.
And Yeah, that's all I got. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you'd help that friend of a friend's cousin, brother, sister, that would be great. No, I think this goes though with Marshall's statement about shortcuts. We think this is a great shortcut. We don't have to tell anybody what's wrong. It was, boom. Speaking of shortcuts, we don't have to tell anybody it's wrong. We don't have to say who it's about or anything else, and we don't have to show up somewhere. Obviously, Facebook prayer is going to work. I have very little.
Well, I know that Jesus was awesome, and that he could heal people without showing up and talking to them at all. They just, the whole Roman soldier thing, you say go and they go, that I understand the concept on that, but I also think that maybe we're supposed to, show up and care.
An active process, And I think the point that you make about them having to show up and care, I think that matters a lot. I really do think that matters. I think that's part of the reason why churches are a good thing, because there's a sense of community.
If they're actually that and not a whole bunch of divisive people screaming at each other.
You have a good point, which is
why I'm not in a regular church.
And why I avoided them for so long, and even the one that I ended up joining, I eventually started seeing cracks forming and people doing that sort of thing. It's like, yeah, okay, no, I can't do that. Can't support that. But yeah, no, when it's good, it's right. It's good, it's right. So, and it's funny because usually the people that are the divisive ones do the yeah when somebody says you're not supposed to be divisive. They seem to miss the fact that they're part of the problem. So, oh well. Anyways, war. What's the good
war?
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a 3-letter word that can be useful in like Scrabble.
Yes, it's a fantastic
That's
word.
a very good use for it.
It's raw spelled backwards.
WWE Raw. Anyways,
Other than that, I think it's pretty distractive and not very good.
yes.
Pretty useless. But some people seem to think that, it's the bee's knees.
Some people think it's pretty profitable too.
Oh yeah, it's definitely profitable. You can't argue about that, but not for very many people. Only for a select few.
For a couple of people, it's profitable.
Just a couple people.
I mean,
For most people, it's pretty. You end up in the red.
for pirates jumping onto a ship and stealing the booty, it's profitable. But for the people who actually produce that
get their
and
booty
transporting
stolen?
it somewhere, it's less profitable than it would have been if it was actually distributed and used properly.
For those people without booty.
My wife says this.
Maybe a pirate stole your booty?
We should probably stop this joke before it goes any further.
Yeah, that joke needs to die.
All right. First thing I wanted to say about war is when we talk about war from a biblical standpoint, from a religious standpoint, because actually I got a little bit of information on various religions, we're not talking about what we do today. What we do today for war is not what they used to do. Can anybody think of what, say, 15th century BCE war would be like?
Swords.
Do they have swords? Maybe some.
Chariots, maybe?
Crashes.
Chariots, but I can't remember.
Moses' time had chariots. They described them in passing as through the party of the Red Sea. And if you watch the movie version of it, there are definitely chariots there.
Motorcycles too.
Yeah. What we're talking about was a personal process.
Had to get down and actually physically fight somebody.
You got out there with a sword, you and your brothers, literally, physically out there. And I'm not dissing soldiers in modern warfare. There's a different, I'm just pointing out there's a different process. What they did back then was small scale. If you had large wars, that was, well, there's a reason why there's the big ones are always named, because there was a lot of small skirmishes all the time. But most people forget them because they were one town versus another. At most 10,000, 20,000 people might have been involved. Until you get into Europe in the 16th century, AD, 12th century, 16th century, right through that range, you start getting into some really large person-to-person combats. You also started getting into a lot of archery. We began the depersonalization of war at that point. But the point being, every religion, when they're talking about war, they're not talking about what we do today. They're not talking about bombing somebody from a distance. They're not talking about strategical strikes with drones. They're not talking about snipers. They're not talking about all of these things. They were talking about the blood, guts, and gore, visceral, go out there with a sword, and you're probably going to die anyways. There's that very little. So what?
This is Sparta.
300 might not have been a great example of war, but it was cool. So when I mentioned the word war, try and think about that past, not necessarily modern day, because if we think about it in the way we do today and try and envision the Israelites pushing people out of the land, they didn't do it with drones and F-117As and all of these things. So
Yes.
there's a reason why they talk about God has to lead us forward with these things. So anyways, there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum. And oddly enough,
I'm thinking about David and F-15 now.
we'll just say good. Because it justified. There's a spectrum. And oddly enough, this is disconnected, somewhat disconnected from the idea of liberal and conservative in Christianity. The idea of whether a war is completely bad, war is completely a good and justified thing, and the whole spectrum in between.
Just thought I'd distract you.
Thanks. He showed me me up here doing what happened 20 seconds ago.
I'll show you. The lag is actually starting to get better. Before it was like good, 30 to 45 seconds, and now it's only like maybe 10 to 12 seconds back.
That's not too bad. Getting closer to real time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a technology issue here or whether or not that's a YouTube thing.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, this same disconnect actually exists in most religions. The idea some people will be liberal, very much against a lot of things that the church currently does, but they'll still be all right with the way we deal with war. It's all right to go out and kill people. It's all right to go out and do these. On the other hand, you have some conservatives who are uptight, who actually says that war is bad. Take the Amish, for instance. Take the Mennonites. Mennonites have served in the U.S. military as conscientious observers. They will not pick up a weapon. There are, and if Kat were here, she would mention there's at least some rare exceptions that even among Mennonites, there was one of her family members that was Mennonite, went to war, and he fought. It's an odd disconnect from what they normally believe. And there's some beliefs, though, some Western beliefs. For instance, Buddhism. It's anti-war, right? You don't kill other people, except for what you do. Buddhism doesn't have a concept of good or evil, or good and bad. We have translated what they believe into those terms that we understand. whether war is bad or good. No, war has karmic consequences. So Buddhists look at it like this. There are times where it is necessary. There are times where you have to defend your family, you have to defend your village. When you kill somebody, though, there's a consequence for that action. It is not whether you did good or you did bad. It's that you've sown, in particular, it's actually you've sown the seeds for sorrow by killing somebody else. They still do it. Even in the U.S., World War II, we had about 1,000 Buddhists here in the United States that were actually fighting with our army. Most people don't realize that we had Buddhism clear back then here in the United States. We did. Every religion's been in the U.S. shores at one time or another. So Buddhists, I can't tell you.
For a second there, I was like 3. Buddha's 3. What did the Buddhists do to get a score of 3?
So the best way to describe when it comes to Buddhism and war, if it's a justifiable situation, sure. But that, by the way, is describing a whole group of people who have varying opinions. So when I say Buddhism, we've gone through the sex issue before. Sects issue before. There are different groups that do believe slightly different about this. And the idea of the Shaolin fighting monk, in theory, should not exist if Buddhism was completely at peace. Which they actually really did exist. Hindu. Again, speaking about a whole lot of people, just distilled down into a very simple thing. Hindu gets a little weird, but the first one they have is self-defense is okay. Just completely okay. If somebody's attacking your town and you have to rally all the troops up and defend your town, that is okay. Now, whether or not it's justified, that's a different way. And actually, I'm going to give you a couple of lines out of one of the main texts for Buddhism. May your weapons be strong to drive away the attackers. May your arms be powerful enough to check the foes. May your army be glorious, not the evildoer. Some important, a couple of important phrases in there. You'll notice it's very much centered towards the idea of you being attacked. If you're being attacked, then may you be victorious. May you also not perform evil deeds while doing it. So they're a little bit similar in a way. Oh, and I'm going to throw this in at the bottom of this, just because it's kind of cool thing. Because Hindu has a god of destruction, and a god of war, and et cetera, et cetera. So people, and these are the things that get popularized in movies. Indiana Jones and things like this have had brushed up against them. So we assume this is the end all be all. Vishnu must obviously be the thing that everybody, well, not necessarily. And I like the end of this because it shows the counterpoint to this. Come together, talk together, let our minds be in harmony. Let common be our prayer, common be our end, common be our purpose, common be our deliberations, common be our desires. United be our hearts, united be our intentions, perfect be in the union among us. I like this. I really like. I wish I could take that out and post it out for Christians too. Except for it is from somebody else's source. They never buy it. Unification.
Well, there are areas where it talks about Christian unity in the Bible. I'm pretty sure Paul has mentioned it several times.
In fact, while this particular piece is not directly in the Christian Bible, if you wanted to, you could find a line that is in common with every line in this one. There's a lot of commonality there. Okay, now here's the one I'm going to throw out there, and this is one that causes problems. In Christianity, you can take the Bible and translate it any way you want to. In Muslim, you can take the Quran and you can translate it any way you want to, be it for peace or be it for evil. The reason why I say this,
But you usually have to take things out of context.
often is really required. For anybody who's supposed to open up the Quran and follow along, I don't think that's going to happen with this group.
I only hit Quran online.
I'm the mat for that, you know. But fight against those who fight against you in the way of Allah, but do not transgress, for Allah does not love transgressors. You fight those who fight you. Kill them whenever you confront them and drive them out from where they drove you out. Basically, if they've invaded you, you get rid of them. For though killing is sinful, wrong persecution is even worse than killing. Do not fight against them near the holy mosques unless they fight against you. But if they fight against you, kill them, for that is the reward of such unbelievers. As if they believed, this is the point, if they believed in it, they wouldn't be attacking you. There would be no reason. Now, the problem is, some of these lines get used, because I've seen these lists show up recently. I've seen them on Facebook. So I've had to go read up on them. And this is one that I saw recently, Quran 8:67. For it is not for a prophet that he should have prisoners of war until he had made a great slaughter of the land. ... As in, they took and they cut out one phrase and then didn't even use the whole sentence. So I of course had to go look this up. What does it actually say? It is not for a prophet that he shall take captives until he has fought and triumphed in the land. You desire the frail goods of this world, or Allah desires for you the hereafter. Allah is mighty wise. By taking the chunk out at the end, it takes it and turns it into a piece of propaganda very quickly. When you don't put the context in there, it is very important to have context. And anytime you see a list of, I'm just going to say it this way, anytime you see a list of crap that says so-and-so over there believes this and this is why they are evil, don't buy it. Go look it up. You know, go check it out. Because there are people who now want us to kill in the name of, well, what they say is in the name of our God. They want us to go out and kill. They don't want us to defend ourselves.
Yeah, they want us to strike first.
They want us to strike first because otherwise they're going to attack us.
Yeah.
We don't really have a whole lot of proof.
That's the United States' method of war. If you look at it, we've only not been at war for 21 years. We
like war. And actually it's no wonder. We supply over half the world's weapons the last time I looked. Half. Amazing. We produce more guns, more tanks, more aircraft. Sure, I will admit, when we sell our aircraft to somebody else, we can't burn them. We take part of the avionics out of them. They don't get the full. They don't get the full purchase. They only get part of it. You don't get the advanced radar system, things like this. But we will sell them to the same people we say are our enemies.
You don't get power steering.
Pretty much would be the way to think of it. No radio, no power steering.
You get a car, but no power steering.
Power windows are completely out.
Rear defogger. Good luck seeing up there. Windshield wipers. Nope.
But Islam. So I'm going to say it follows the same answer though. If it's justified, I guess war is okay for their religious standpoint. Now there is one thing in common though. All right, tell me about it. Can anybody tell me about war in the Old Testament?
It was the thing that God used to punish nations. There was that when the Israelites screwed up, he called people from the ends of the earth to come punish them. And then also he waited until the nations in Canaan got so bad that, like, for example, in the time that the people were wondering before they were to attack this nation in Canaan, these nations, to drive them out and all of that, there's a part where God's like, they haven't been bad enough yet. You know, go ahead and wait for a little while. We're going to wait for a little while. And then when their iniquity is complete, then we'll come here and drive them out.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a point at which it's like, okay, well, it's time to punish them. Now you can come wipe them out.
Yep. And on top of that, there's also been a couple of times where it was commanded.
Mm-hmm.
Clear the land of Israel. That was full out. This is what you're going to do, and
kill everybody.
Kill everybody. Judaism and Islam has something in common. There's a code of conduct. These are the things you must do and must not do while at war. For instance, you must, when conquering a piece of land in Judaism, you have to leave the trees. All the fruit trees had to stay because they were food, and if you tore them down, then you weren't going to have anything to eat in that town when time comes. You killed them to the last man. It's not even an option. You killed them to the last man unless you were taking slaves. You did these things, and these were specifically commanded. Oddly enough, they were specifically commanded for one territory and one territory only.
In one time.
Yeah.
When they were going in to clear them out, it was like God told them, okay, don't take any prisoners. Don't take anybody. Don't even take their cattle. Kill everything. You know, and then they didn't listen. They took prisoners, and he's like, well, you took them, and they also made a deal with people that the evidence in front of them looked like they had come from a different land. They made sure they had moldy bread and everything. And the Israelites just took it for granted that they did and made a deal with them using God's name. And since they did, God's like, well, now you're going to fight with them until the end of time.
Yep. Because you're not. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. My notes here somewhere. There is the. Yeah. It's actually Deuteronomy 20:16-7. However, the cities and the nation of the Lord, your God, is giving you as an inheritance. Do not leave anything alive that breathes. Completely destroy them, as the Lord your God has commanded you. Samuel, it's go out and completely destroy those wicked people, the Amalekites. Make war on them until you have wiped them out. So it's been war has mentioned. It's not just a half measure. It is clean. It's clean sweep. Leave nothing behind. This is always one of the most. This is part of the reason why the Old Testament for a lot of people is the Old Testament. We don't follow that because there are things we're not proud of as a people. We did these things. Well, our ancestors, or at least the Israelite ancestors, did these things. As a group, that means that we are involved in a religion that at one time did these things. Islam has the same problem. Hindu has the same problem. Buddhism doesn't really have the same problem quite the same way because they can just they separate out. It's not an evil act. We wouldn't think upon it as evil. But the rest of these, they don't have the same thing as occurred. Somewhere in their history, they've had times where they were commanded, you must wipe this out. You must do this. You must take care of this. This is what you were to do. So Christians, we are peacemakers. I like this. I personally like this. But because of that, that's one of the reasons why we look at the Old Testament sometimes and go, well, that was them. You know, We don't do that sort of thing today. And they're right. We don't do that sort of thing today. We do not eliminate a people from beginning to end. At the time, though, there was a reason. There was a reason at the time. And the idea being, for there to be a strong foundation for this, you can't have things mixed together. There's talked a number of times in the Bible about the mixing of religions, the mixing of peoples and things like that. For this point, they had to not do that.
They weren't allowed to let witches live at that time either. But people took that phrase and decided to murder a whole bunch of people in Europe and
Yes.
America for being witches, because they just latched onto that and they're like, well, it's in there, it's timeless.
That lady owns a black cat. She made a glass of tea.
Can't write. Anybody tell me what's wrong with that statement?
Murder.
Thank you. Thou shalt not murder is the statement, not thou shalt not kill. The process being, the idea being two separate things. One of them is a premeditated individual act. The other one is, because we were at one time commanded to stone people.
Yes.
So you couldn't have this, you couldn't have that.
Yes.
What was that?
Executions
It
were.
was totally out of focus.
Oh, again?
Yeah,
I think it's become weird.
I kind of tapped it and it focused.
Weird. Execution, things like that. You're right. Those were also commanded at one time. If you couldn't kill, you couldn't execute somebody. But the difference between thou shalt not kill and thou shalt not murder is one of the justifications on the peacenik side of things why we're not supposed to go to war at all. Never. No way, no how, because we would be killing someone. On the other hand, thou shalt not murder becomes justification for the more warlike side. We're not committing murder. We are executing. We are taking care of a problem. Now, the question becomes, in modern day, what does the New Testament say about us going to war? There's a pause where you think about this.
I really can't. I mean, I know that Jesus kind of gave us instructions that would kind of be counter to going to war, but then again, he said that people could stay soldiers. If they were soldiers, they didn't have to give up being soldiers. And there was Paul's answer to the Romans about the government having the sword to punish wrongdoers. That's not war per se, but
That's a personal process.
The sword was a instrument of both.
Yep.
But I think it's pretty hard to go to war when you're turning the other cheek.
And that becomes part of the problem. And this is where we end up with the part of that modern schism of thinking of war versus the yes we can versus we can't. Because I'm going to throw a couple of sections out real quick. Matthew 26:52, Jesus said to them, "Put your sword back in its place. For all who take the sword will perish by the sword." Ecclesiastes 3:8, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for war, a time for peace. It's just somebody's song, yes, I know.
The song probably referenced that.
Yeah. Matthew 5:9, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. On the other hand.
And wasn't there also the ideal about beating your swords into plowshares? And of course, that's like at the end.
Yeah. Do I think that I come to bring peace, or I have come not to bring peace, but a sword? This is one of the justifiable, the ones that are used as justifications in Christianity.
But he was talking about what was physically going to happen because he came.
Yes. And it's more. Jesus spent a lot of time talking in metaphor.
Yeah.
Giving us parables and metaphors. And sometimes we have a hard time translating that out. The sword that he speaks of has been much debated from that statement, because the sword is mentioned a number of times. It's been much debated whether that means physical.
Well, his
I bring
tongue
death.
has been described as a sword too.
Particularly in Revelations.
His hand, the winnowing fork.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, you can, if you want to commit evil, you can find some justification to do it. But that's, I mean, anybody can take a book that says, do not kill people, do not kill people, do not kill people. Here's this group of people that decided to murder your God. This was bad because they did it. They knew better. There were areas that said not to, falsely testify, not to do this, not to do that. It was bad. Here's an example of what not to do. Okay, now over here, there's this other group that we told not to do this, and they didn't do it. It's great. They had livable peace and everything, but these other people killed them. And then go ahead and find the little bits in between, that are like, yeah, go ahead, murder people.
And by the way, actually, you mentioned Jesus in the commentary about soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Be soldiers. There is actually justification in Romans that even if we were a completely peaceful society, or if our religion was completely peaceful, or et cetera, a soldier would still have to remain a soldier. Romans, and I love picking on this one because I use this in politic discussions from time to time. And I'll admit, I use it out of context from time to time because it's kind of fun. Yes, even I am susceptible from doing that from time. Romans 13, 1-7. Let every person be subject to government. Actually, I'm just going to stop the first one. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities. If you're a soldier, you're supposed to be a soldier. It's just that simple. And if one has found God and they are a soldier, there has been tales of the discontinuity that occurs for some people. How can I kill if I serve God? Well, if your authority tells you that's what you're supposed to do, and you do not feel that, and this is kind of important, if you do not feel that the authority is evil or doing wrong, you're supposed to follow them. They were there for a reason. They were put there by God, according to New Testament. They were put there by God, so you were to follow them.
Yeah.
I'm missing the line at one, because there's 2 times that Jesus mentions the sword, and
He tells them to go ahead and sell things to get a sword, so that he can be so it would fulfill one of the prophecies about him being counted as a lawbreaker.
Oddly enough, that's not where I was going with it. That's actually an interesting point. I'm trying to remember what the line. The line basically boils down to putting away your sword. There's once that he mentions putting away your sword, and once that he mentions not your sword to fight.
But before he told them to put, it would have been really confusing for Peter, because basically right before this, Jesus is like, when I sent you out there without any weapons, without any, extra cloaks or anything, did you have problems? Did people not feed you? You were fine. The crap just hit the fan. You need to go ahead and sell this and get a sword. And they were like, hey, we've got 2 swords between us. And he's like, it's enough. It'll work.
2 swords, that'll be enough. How many of them is there? 500. 2 swords out there.
Well, the thing about it was that the normal people didn't run around with swords. I mean, having swords put them in a category where people were like, lawbreaker.
Yeah, there was also, going outside of this, Because Christianity grew up over there. Grew up with a set of rules, and we kept dividing into different groups of thinking. But a lot of the rulers, a lot of the kings and things like that, so with went along with Christianity. So at one time when we fought war, we fought it over religion or land. That's it. Really, that's pretty much all we could say it was. What do we fight over now?
Resources.
Land. We don't know.
Mhm.
Religion is a justification now.
Well, yeah.
We justify our actions because they're different people. I mean, you say this on Facebook. This is what it disgusts me. It personally disgusts me. There are some people who are willing to, who say, and this is where it gets me really rankled, that want us to go over and kill Muslims. They want us to do it
Yeah, I've heard
because they're Muslims. Now, by the way, they want, when I say they want us to do it, they want the nation to do it. They want to send the soldiers. Those people are not going over to do it themselves. It's very easy to sanitize because this is the other part about war that's changed. See, 2 times we're going to go to war, 2 empires were going to go to war during that time period back then. You were going to be settling out where you're going to go.
Yeah.
Now we have people that do it for us. We have people that declare that we're going to go to war for us. We have washed our hands of the process. We have kept it from being part of us. We in America, we got no idea what war is. Not the general person. Those who've been over there, I've got friends. I've got some friends that are broken people because of the time they've spent over there.
Mhm.
But I know I will never be able to understand it. Never. I have never been, once in my life have I woke up and looked across the street and the house over there was gone because somebody dropped a bomb on it. Never happened. If you could get that just a little. Or you can hide it from me.
Oh man.
Anyways,
Sorry.
One of the things that we do is we divide people into little groups, and we, basically we demonize them so that it's okay to attack them.
yes, absolutely. I talked about this before. Us and them. We can kill all of them if we want because they're not part of us.
Well, I was in a class that it was an anthropology class, and they had a film from a group of anthropologists that had gone over to Kosovo, and they were doing ethnography where they were comparing. They were just going there at the wrong time. They were going there to, interview villagers about their life experiences and their culture and everything. And they were talking to people while the war was happening. I mean, they were interviewing like a Christian lady and a Muslim lady before the war happened. They were living together for 30 years. They were really good friends. They would come over and visit. They'd have tea. Their answers were basically, oh, well, we all worship the same God, but it's a different method we get there by. And they were completely at peace. And then the war started, and there were newscasts talking about this group of Muslims or this group of Christians, and they ended up being, scared for each other and everything. And it eventually, after this entire thing, they started hating each other because this outside group that they were identified with because of the label did this, and they both thought the other one's outside group were demons.
Yeah. No, and actually the process, us and them, we can kill them. We can't kill us. We're not allowed to kill us. Can't kill somebody here in the U.S., but we can go over there and we can kill them. It's not a problem. Now, keep in mind, I'm saying this facetiously. There are some people who really do view it this black and white. If they're not us, we can kill them. There are people that do it. Most people do not view it actually that black and white. They have to have justification. Why them? Why it's okay for us to kill them.
And that's where the propaganda comes in.
Right. Another group that stands here and tells us who is them.
I think Monty Python said it well, you know, back home I'd be a murderer and they'd lock me up forever. Here they pin a medal on me, call me a hero.
It's all the truth of that. And I never once, and anytime anybody thinks that I'm going after the soldiers, I'm not. I don't believe that. Those guys do a hell of a job, and they're commanded to do a good job. If they don't do a job, there's repercussions, including potentially death for not doing that job. But on the other hand, yeah, there's people that tell us who them is this year, because there's a hilarious meme. I have not posted it. I was going to post it in association with this one. Was my favorite. It's my favorite time of year, the national declaration of who our enemy is this year. And it's scarily accurate. It's not a yearly thing. Actually, it's about every 5 years we get a new enemy. Some of them are valid though. This is where the problem comes. It's easy for me to stand here and say, we shouldn't be at war. We should not be out there fighting. Our men should not be over there. On the other hand, we got a group going around called ISIS. They're a reaction in a lot of ways to what's already happened there.
Mm-hmm.
They are a result of war.
Yeah.
But they exist. They didn't just go out and take over towns. They started beheading people. They started murdering people. They started destroying landmarks, et cetera, et cetera. They are not a peaceful people. There is no peaceful solution to the problem. So as much as I say we can't go to war because it's bad, because we kill people, is it all right to go help others, to defend other nations? And I don't have an answer for this. I don't really actually have a biblical answer for this. Is it okay for us to go over to another country and defend them, to keep them from being killed? And does anybody have, I guess, does anybody have a biblical opinion?
We're supposed to stand up for the oppressed, but the standing up for the oppressed isn't exactly specified what particular thing you do. I mean, one of the things that makes this happen is the propaganda, is the bullshit. And I'm sorry to use it, but this is one of the things that I feel very strongly about. It's the word weapons that people use. And our sword is supposed to be truth. We're supposed to cut these things down. We're supposed to say, no, that's bullshit. No, that over there, no, you are slandering them. You know, we're supposed to stop this.
Yeah. Before
it gets to war. But this reaction that's happening is not coming from nowhere. We have had situations where we have funded certain people who have murdered people in mass quantities over there so that we could go ahead and get our interests taken care of, whether it's oil interests or other interests. And we've basically supported a lot of really horrible policies in other countries, mainly because the bulk of our country doesn't even know what's happening, because there's people telling us what's happening and they're not being honest.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, and I don't disagree with you, because it actually goes even further than that, which is really sick and wrong. Is how far this actually goes, because we go over there, we fight for our interests, not to defend people. Now, there are times we have. I think there's times we've justifiably gone places and we've defended people. Right now, fighting against ISIS, as my white American point of view, fighting against ISIS is justified because they are doing these things. They are not just, it's not a political takeover. Political takeover, that's an internal schism, that's one thing. When you start killing people as part of that political schism, I got a problem with it. Those people, why should they die because you want to be the new rule? I got a problem with that. But on the other hand, more often than not, yeah, we seem to be going in and taking care of our interests. We want land. It's really what we want. We don't actually take over. U.S. does not take over land. We are not a colonial
power.
except for when we are indirectly.
Indirectly, yes.
We
British
may
had
not.
indirect rule. We just perfected
We
it.
want the crap under the ground.
Yes. Yeah, we don't actually. You're right. It's everything underground that we want. We don't want the stuff on the ground. You can keep all the houses there. Just make sure whoever's in charge lets us get what we want. And there's
Don't
laws.
charge us for it.
So what?
Don't charge us for it.
Yeah. Or why don't you give it to us at a discount? We'll give you a little bit of cash for it.
Well, yeah.
Which, of course, now that comes back to
Help you rebuild.
By the way, there's between the two topics that we've had going here, there's something in common. A lot of this is built on a house of lies. The reasons why we go to war quite often are built on a house of lies. The reasons why people believe they're going to be saved and healed, their life is going to be saved. Why their life is going to be saved, why they're not going to have bone cancer, is predicated on a set of lies also. That somebody else is going to be able to do it for you. That there's an easy way out. So I find it interesting, even though there's completely separate topics, we still have that tie and that bridge in between the two of them. And it's all about the fact that we like to lie a lot. And I don't necessarily mean us in this room. I don't know whether you guys lie or not. It's up to you. But alrighty, can't trust the word he says.
Wait, what?
Do not trust the man in the orange hat. Anyways, yes. So I think sometimes we're justified. I have a hard time, not being a ground pounder who's out there seeing what's really happening, because I've never have been. At 40,
It's a little far away.
It's a little far away. And at 43 years old, I probably never will be. I hope I never am, quite honestly. Not being one of those people and not being the most politically informed person in the world. For all I know, ISIS might not exist. I mean, it could just be a ruse and it doesn't exist. Somehow I doubt that. There's enough pictures and images from places to say it happens. But we did that last time, though. We actually did say, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, this is why we're going over there.
Oh yeah, those chemical weapons that totally exist.
Totally existed.
Oh yeah.
Millions and millions of pounds of these things.
Yeah. Mm.
Anyways,
they're all on trucks being moved around. That's why we can't find them.
hey, we found some buried
Apparently
trucks.
we need to, dig out the entire area to find them. That's what's happening.
In all fairness,
Saddam Hussein was just, he was saying that the weapons inspectors and stuff were in league with American spies and stuff. Yeah, he was lying too. Yeah, Saddam didn't know that. Yeah, sorry.
so
Weapons inspectors were as well.
and we do all of that stuff to serve our interests. Those lies. The CIA said, hey, this is what's going on. And then the CIA said, no, wait, I think we're wrong. Then they still went to war anyways. And it's documented stuff that happened.
Mhm.
But also, there's this other problem. So we like that land, and we like to be able to control everybody else's stuff. We like to be able to control everybody else's lives. But also, we like to make money, lots of money. I like money. So there's just another justification that occurs a lot of times. It's surely profit. See, this is the difference between war back then and war now. If you made swords for a living, if you're a blacksmith and they were going to go to war, you'd make some money, but it really wouldn't be that amazing. In fact, actually, the problem is not only do you make some money, you're probably going to be out there too. You might have a better sword than everybody else because you'll keep the best stuff for yourself. The second best stuff will go to your king or your leader, but you're going to try to keep yourself alive. There was profit in war, but there was not the way there is now. Profit in war now is insane and ridiculous. Not only do we make profit from our wars, I mean, We're in a city that has Raytheon in it, that has had Raytheon in it, that has had Boeing in it. And these are guys whose specialty is blowing things up. Our town literally was built the infrastructure. Words are gone.
The infrastructure.
The industry infrastructure was built around the idea of guys who could make money by selling other people's stuff to kill other people. That's really what it was. The NRA. Now I'm going to say something that's going to piss so many people off. I am pro-gun. Okay, we should understand this. I'm pro-gun. I grew up hunting. I don't really like hunting. I grew up doing it. I see the necessity of it, and the necessity to understand where my food comes from. I like handguns because they're good sport. I am, on the other hand, not a big fan of everybody in the world getting a hold of handguns. So I believe I like guns, but I believe in gun control. NRA talks about unfettered use of guns. Should not. Because actually, believe it or not, I don't do all this stuff. It's the same group that's selling ammo to the people over there.
Mm-hmm.
It's our warlike culture is based on the idea of being able to sell a product. We sell everybody a lie so that we can sell a product. And I wish I could, honestly, I wish I could take everybody for political debates would take the NRA out of the equation, just shove them out of the room and talk about guns instead of talking about the NRA says that we should be able to have guns because of our Second Amendment rights.
Because we're all well-regulated militias, right?
And Obama's going to take our guns, despite the fact there hasn't been a single bit of regulation show up for gun control from Obama's administration.
Ever.
It's irrelevant. The man's not going to take our guns from us. It's not going to happen. It's just.
I love it. There was a cartoon. There was a skeleton, at the window, with the blinds, kind of drawn down and everything. And it's all like, NRA activists, waiting for Obama to show up to take his guns.
And they
never going to happen.
They want a state of fear.
Mm-hmm.
They want a state of because there's some more guns.
Yeah.
So
People are like,
there's
hey,
some
this
more
gun can protect me.
We've had higher gun sales and ammo sales here recently than.
It's fantastic. It's amazing how much more they sold so many of the AR-15s that you couldn't get a hold of one for a while. You couldn't get bullets for it. You couldn't hardly get 9mm bullets 3 years ago. You couldn't hardly get them because the stories come out that they're going to take our guns.
You better buy it now.
So everybody flipped out.
And factories couldn't make them fast enough.
And there's a divide on guns because in the country you can see it as a tool that you use to hunt something that's not human.
It is totally different.
And to keep your
And
family
you don't
safe.
have the police at your speed dial. You can't exactly have they might live down the street from you if you just happen to be there, but there are off hours.
I grew up with 2 big dogs, Great Dane Black Lab mixes. We didn't have to worry about it. We didn't need a gun. But one time there was an intruder in the house. My mom was the only one left home. She did the obvious thing. She stepped out of the bathroom. 2 guys walked through the front door. She took 2 steps back and opened up the gun room door. Tried to pull out the shotgun. The guys were gone. Calls the sheriff, and then the dogs showed back up. Because we had big dogs. Big dogs don't take kindly to somebody breaking into your house.
Yeah.
So, yes, I understand the justification that we should be able to defend ourselves. Sort of, kind of.
But we're not defending ourselves. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're letting our toddlers play with guns and kill their baby brother or sister. We're dropping them while we're.
Yeah. Someone living in an apartment in New York shouldn't have 300 guns.
No.
They're not supposed to even, but
I almost wish that we were a country where everybody got gun training when they went to high school, when they went to school. Because I know exactly what a gun does. I grew up shooting 41 and 44 Magnum, big guns. So I have this really clear image in my head of what is going to happen when you shoot something or when you shoot someone. I thoroughly understand this. And the problem is most people don't. Most of the kids who end up being gangbangers, they don't know what it's really about until the first one they shoot. They didn't grow up understanding these things. They also, people buy them for their households, like you were talking about, people buy them in their households. They have no idea about gun safety. They don't know.
Even one who is trained can make a mistake, and the more often that you have a gun with you, the more likely you are to forget something. So, I mean, I personally had a guy die in my school back in the days when most kids only just had knives and they were bringing them to school, but not guns. But he died because his dad was a police officer and he left out the gun once.
Yep. It's a thing to treat with great
He was
care and
trained.
respect.
He was totally trained. It's just that humans make mistakes.
Yep.
And there are certain things you can't make mistakes with.
Absolutely. In our household, that they were around, but I was also taught about them. We did not fool around with guns. That was a whooping. That would have been a whooping. There were also a lot of rules about them. There were a lot of what we were allowed to do and not allowed to do. We were not allowed to touch them unless there was a parent around. And then on top of that, the handguns, those were locked up. They were in a safe. And some people would say, well, but then I couldn't get to it in case of an emergency. You know what? How many people actually have an emergency that that's going to happen?
Right.
Well, and also the reaction time of a human is slower than the offensive time of the human. If somebody comes into your house with a gun and plans on shooting you, they're going to shoot you.
Yeah, it's
gonna
more likely
happen.
than
You're
not.
not going to be able to get to your gun fast enough.
Yeah.
Especially if you have it, even if you say you have it hidden or locked up safely, just next to your bed or whatever, you're not going to, what are you going to do? Wake up in the middle of the night, think you hear an intruder, and then clamber around in the dark for your gun.
And open fire, just by widely and randomly.
Right?
I mean, you got to confer. There's a lot of things.
Are you going to Usain Bolt down the hall?
But they're using them as an object of faith. They're not using
They're
them.
just using it as a comfort thing.
Yeah, it's a comfort blanket kind.
Yeah,
That's dangerous.
I tend to agree with that. I do tend to agree with that.
I understand in the country there's a reason for it, though. You're isolated, but there are other options besides guns.
Yeah, and there are actually non-human things that you want to have a gun around for. It does happen. Ranging from rabid animal to even in parts of Kansas, you could end up with a situation with a mountain lion. You can, et cetera, et cetera. That does happen in Kansas. Really ridiculous. Most of the time, the cats don't care. They just leave you alone. You're bigger than they are. But there are situations that can occur. And oddly enough, for most of those, you don't want a handgun anyways. You still want a shotgun or a rifle, something big.
You're so cute.
So what?
You're so cute, though. You just want to pet him.
Mountain lions?
Oh,
Don't pet the bobcat either. Don't pet bobcats. Bad idea. So I mean, but the other question comes back though: is there a justification biblically for us having guns around, for keeping them in our household?
Guns?
Guns.
No.
well,
I got a no over here. Just an absolute. Are you nuts? I got a no.
Gun? You mean like Old Testament?
guns.
Well,
Well, implements of death.
implements of death, things that were designed specifically to kill others.
Okay. I was just thinking guns, AR-15s. No.
And that's Jesus spoke. No, I'm going to stop right there.
You must know how to reload quickly and clear a jam in the breach.
Thou shalt always keep thy speed loader full.
The thing is that Jesus was not helpless. He was not, just having to go. He wasn't born as a poor guy just because that's all God could pull off. I mean, he was there
The
on
man could walk
purpose.
on water. He could matrix up a wall.
And when Peter drew that sword and tried to and, and actually left the guy's ear off, and, the whole thing happened there. And Jesus was like, do you think that I couldn't just call to my Father and have like a legion of angels show up? This is, we're doing this on purpose.
Hey, Dad.
This is,
Airstrike at these coordinates, please.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
playing
I
with the
mean-
radar, with the laser right now.
so it's
Oh, shoot. Shoot.
it was totally done
No,
on
I'm
purpose, and the instructions to us were to love our enemies, not to nuke them. I mean,
With
granted,
angels.
the equivalent of nuking them at the time was that time when Peter and the others were waiting for Jesus to rain down holy fire on the town that wouldn't accept him. And he was just like, get back from me, Satan. You don't know what spirit you're speaking from right now.
We're gonna kill a lot of these people because they won't let us in.
Now I'm just.
And he was like, I'm here to save people.
It's
Now I'm just thinking about him like causing so many ears to grow on his enemies that they can't move.
It's just not right, Michael. Ball of ears. That's
Contemplating possible superpowers of the Christ. No.
oh no.
terrible.
Anyways,
There's a comic in here somewhere.
No, dude.
I cannot speak any further.
It is a comic.
Nope.
Anyway,
Somebody has probably already done it.
just because I am not going to name. There does exist, but I'm not going to name it. Anyways, so
Stop you Googling that. Sorry.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I try to have this much fun at church.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Well, not everybody gets to say bullshit in church either.
Sorry, man.
I'm sorry. I think pretty much all bets are off on whether or not somebody can get away with saying that. But my wife said the term "without lube." So yeah, it was a good use of the term. It really was. Just
Yeah, it's definitely, well, I can't say appropriate, but it was appropriate to the.
Conversation. Context.
yes,
The context.
context. If you just said "without lube," ... it would not be the proper. Anyways, so even the process of convincing people to buy more guns is predicated on a set of lies, a set of faiths that we are able to defend. Most people cannot shoot a moving target. Most people cannot shoot a moving target unless you grew up doing it or you were trained to do it. And I don't mean go down to the firing range and shoot at
Movies. Movies have basically told people that they can just point click and it's going to happen.
Yes,
Everything
Oh, gosh.
and there's also some beliefs that there's also the belief that when you shoot somebody, it's fatal. You kill them dead right then and there. Okay, a shot to the heart is 80% survival. If you get medical attention within the first 10 minutes, you're probably going to survive. That means, by the way, your assailant, if you shoot him in the heart, there's still only an 80% chance that he's still going to walk away. A 20% chance that you're actually going to kill him. But we believe, because as you pointed out, the movies, we believe because we read magazines and television and things like this that tell us these things, that we could stop an intruder with it. My Aunt Madeline used to sell t-shirts out of the back of her van in Florida.
Mhm.
One day, back of the van was open. Guy climbs in. She grabs the 357 and plugs him 3 times. What happened? He walked away. He left. At least he lost interest in her, but he survived and walked away. As far as I know, he was never caught. Not even just like a dead body somewhere. No, he just survived. Because unless you're a really, really good shot, the chance of survival is exceedingly high. And even if you're a good shot, there's only one almost guaranteed fatal shot, and even then, it's not a guarantee. And most people can't do that shot. That shoot them in the head. Most people are not trained well enough to be able to shoot that well. And again, most people aren't trained. So all these lies, this fountain of lies that we've got built. And the other one, how they sell assault rifles is, well, if the government were to decide to kill us, start killing us all. No. Hey, I want you to bear with.
Okay, I'm bearing.
Right?
Bear with me a moment.
I'm bearing.
Despite the fact,
that
if they started killing a lot of people, the government wouldn't get their taxes, so it doesn't make any sense anyways. That you would be able to defend yourself from them.
Nope.
I want to know exactly how your AR-15 is going to defend against an F-117A. It's not. It's not a fair match. In fact, if you had,
especially if the guy's wearing ponies,
if you had the entire population of Kansas and gave them all hunting rifles and assault rifles, and you said, go get them, and go to DC and take care of this problem. Get rid of that guy that's in office. The size and strength of our military, we took on the second largest ground force in the world, and we rolled through them like nothing.
Yeah. Like I was saying, it's not like we ever attack people that are unarmed, right? I mean, basically, when we go up against any group, terrorists or whatever, they have weapons.
Yes.
They are not unarmed
compared
people,
to us,
and they have more training than normal, everyday Americans.
Yep.
And a lot of times they've actually been in war, so they're even, ready for the entire psychological thing.
Yep.
Whereas,
we have no idea. We don't know. All we've got is what other people have told us, and most of it is unfortunately just a bunch of lies. Because we want to sell them.
Make us feel warm and cuddly.
Make us feel warm and cuddly because we got a gun in the house, despite the fact that we never get that gun in time. Make us feel warm.
But we had to buy.
the thing that really ticks me off, and I know this probably shouldn't tick me off so much, it just really does, is there's this picture that they circulate on the internet that has the Holy Bible, and then on top of the Holy Bible, there's a handgun. And somewhere around there's the Constitution. So I guess they think it's a Trinity or something, but they have a handgun on the Holy Bible. Now I know that the book isn't what we're worshiping.
On the other hand,
symbolically, that is so wrong.
Yes, that actually come out a little bit out of the South. Is part of where that kind of
shows a lot of ignorance. Is what it shows.
Well, it definitely does show a misunderstanding of what is in the Bible.
Yeah.
Because oddly enough, when it comes to defending ourselves, singular, we're really not actually supposed to do that. We're not actually supposed to defend ourselves. I say this as a guy that can quite well defend himself, but I'm not supposed to. I'm not supposed to. If somebody
turning the other cheek is not defending yourself.
Yes. If you are struck on the cheek, you present them with your other cheek.
Unless your other cheek has a black belt.
Oddly enough, there's also more than one level of defending yourself too. There is defending yourself and killing the other guy, which is the object of owning guns. It's not that we're going to defend ourselves. We want to kill the other guy because we believe that that's what we're supposed to do. On the other hand, if you're a martial artist,
you better not.
You better not. As a matter of fact, actually,
you'll go to jail.
Yes.
Your gun won't go to jail.
Yes.
You'll go to jail.
A martial artist will tell you that against an untrained assailant, you're just supposed to defend yourself. Disable your opponent as simply and easily as possible without injuring them. Because guess what? You have
the weapon.
Yes. And oddly enough, even in no retreat states, you can still go to jail for shooting somebody who broke into your house. In fact, actually, a couple of the gun training places have gotten smarter in explaining something very important. If you pull your weapon out and you discharge your weapon, expect to go to jail. Does not matter whether you're right or wrong. You may not go to prison for the rest of your life, but you're probably going to at least spend the night in jail because you fired it. And they need to sort out why did you fire it, why, how, et cetera, et cetera. And you may discover that you still go to jail anyways because you shot somebody. And that's actually a moment of clarity and sanity in the situation that I've seen recently. I was kind of impressed by this because it was from a gun training class, which is the opposite of what we hear, which is, well, you need to be able to pull. Be sure to have that nearby so you can pull out as quickly as possible.
Pull out, pop 3 rounds in the chest.
And what they were saying was, sure, have it around, but realize if you pull it out, you're probably not going to be a free person for a while. There's a good chance you're in the wrong. Oh, and by the way, who are you going to shoot at when you pull that out? Do you know for certain that the person that you see in the dark is an assailant?
Or your wife coming down the hallway with a cup of milk, you know.
And I've got a friend of mine who is ex-military that he talks about the fact that you don't know who that is in the house with you. And if your automatic reaction is to attack, it might be somebody you care about and love. And
No, it might just be a kid breaking into, you know, they're not even having any concerns or any. They don't even want to hurt you. Maybe they just, you know, want to steal something or just get a thrill or whatever, and you're just gonna shoot them.
does anybody deserve to die over stuff?
Right. Nobody deserves to die over stuff. I mean, the only time, you know, you should even be thinking about that is if the assailant, if their, you know, desire is to kill you, you know, and you don't know what's going on in people's heads, you know. I mean, if they're coming screaming at you with a broadsword or a gun or something, it's pretty clear, you know. You can assume things, you know. But if it's a burglar walking around, chances are they only have a gun just to scare you enough to give them your stuff.
Here's the truth: if you have a burglar in your house, they probably don't have a gun.
And they
Because they couldn't afford it to begin with.
Yeah, and they don't want you to know they're there anyway.
Yeah. So, and we do have a belief in America that we can kill people over defending our stuff. That it's all right.
You really want to murder somebody for your TV,
But we believe that's okay.
And it is murder. It's not defense. It's not, you know, killing somebody. It's still murder. You know?
I agree with you at that point, because self-defense is somebody's coming at you. Somebody's coming at your TV. That's not self-defense. That's protecting some crap. By the way, you got insurance for it anyways. Why did you need to? What was it important? Was it really that important?
Right.
What about the car? Because people have been shot over cars. Well, that's a pretty important item. It's also got insurance. Well, in all fairness, my Mercedes, my little 1982 POS, does not have insurance that would cover it if it was stolen. It's got liability.
Yeah.
Because it's cheap, and it's an old car, and if it gets
And a
torn
lot
out.
of people don't have insurance for if it's stolen, just
Mhm.
liability, because we're not doing so.
But you're still not going to kill somebody.
But yeah, you're not.
If somebody stole my Mercedes, I would not kill them over it.
Yeah.
I take a hand.
I will admit
They'll take a hand or something, but
Oh, behave.
wear it around your neck.
Oh, no.
I will admit the unchristian thing. If I caught them stealing it, there might be a little bit of a beatdown involved.
Yeah.
But I know right here, standing here, as I say that is not right.
Right.
That is wrong. I'm not
It
allowed
is.
to do that. I'm not supposed to.
It's definitely wrong. But, you know, you shouldn't have, you know, a gun on you, and you shouldn't whip it out. Your first reaction shouldn't be to shoot them.
I agree. Now, there has, in all fairness, as much as I'm not a fan of handguns for the whole carry them around, self-defense, and all that good stuff, because most people don't know how to use them and everything else. There have been some rare cases where it did work out right, where it has been used in defense of others. So I can't say this. I'm not going to say
Right.
it's
It's
completely
not a
wrong.
blanket statement.
But for the most part, it's still that stack of lies that were being sold, so that we live.
For the most part, yeah, it's for the most part. It's so that they can sell more guns to you.
Well, I hate sounding like one of the conspiracy theorists. I really do.
No,
I hate
it's
sounding
not
like
conspiracy at all. Most everything comes down to money.
that's the truth, though.
Most everything comes down to money.
We're in capitalism, and it's not even really capitalism anymore, because there's too much.
There's only a few people at the top.
Capitalism depends on people being educated, like the entire populace, that everybody would know what the best deal is, what the best thing to do. And the advertising, you see, if we were actually doing pure capitalism, they wouldn't have to advertise because people would just know.
Yeah.
So it's not pure anyway. But the idea that we're favoring money as a major player in our system. Money is so important that we will go ahead and protect it over people.
Yeah, we do believe that. But it's more important. Money is more important than anybody else's life.
That's why I'm liking the Pope nowadays.
I'm not Catholic, but I like that.
Yeah, he's got so many people pissed off at him, because he tells them that money's not God.
Probably the only thing I don't like about the guy is some of the equality issues when it comes to women. That's actually the only thing I don't really like about him. There's been some issues there. If anybody wants to look that up, they're welcome to.
But there'll always be some sticking points.
Yeah.
Any human.
So there's no. If we all agreed with any one particular person, I think we were nuts. Because of everything they do, that would be nuts. Especially somebody with a background like that. He's got a hugely varied background.
Brainless zombies.
So what?
Or we just brainless zombies.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now the fun part about this one, this is why I knew going into it that this is going to be funny, because usually there's a point in the end that no, this is not right to do, or yes, this is right to do. When it comes to war, there's no right or wrong. I don't have an answer. Nobody has ever really had an answer that takes the Bible and says 100% for certain, no, war is bad, or 100% for certain, war is good. Because there's not. It's too.
Well, the thing about Armageddon, the interesting thing about the whole end of the world scenario is that it mentions how God's going to have all the armies of the world go ahead and fight this battle at the end. So if you're ready to go to war, really easy to get to go to war, you're going to get tricked into it.
Yeah.
So war's a yes.
So what?
So war's a yes.
War is war. There's no answer. And actually, I should throw. There's one part in the Bible that says something I always find interesting because it really doesn't say war is good or war is bad. It's just that there will be war and rumors of war and nations against nations, but these should not be worrying you. Yeah, it doesn't really. So, but that's one of the lists of the signs of the end times that, and there was like this area where Jesus was talking to people, and he was like, these are the signs of things to come, but they were worried about when the nation was going to fall. And actually,
it's like after they were talking about the temple being taken down, and like the next part of besides that is something like, but these shouldn't worry you. There's still more to come, and then like disasters and stuff.
Yeah. And the actual piece is out of Matthew. Matthew 24:6. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will mislead many. You will be hearing of wars and rumors of war. You will see that you are not frightened, for these things must take place, but that is not yet the end. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and in the various places there will be famines and earthquakes. Basically, the same shit happens. Yeah. This is not what we're supposed to be worried about. Not man. We're supposed to worry about the people. We're supposed to worry about the stuff that needs to occur. We need to worry about how we deal with everybody else. Make sure that we. I'm curious. Every time you hold that up, you've got something going on. Anyways, that we're supposed to be dealing with the biblical portions, as in love each other, take care of each other. That's what we need to worry about. If war breaks out, listen, war break out in the U.S. soil. Should we be worrying about stockpiling food for months and months and months, or should we be checking on our neighbor too? We should be checking on our neighbor. That's pretty much absolute from the Bible. We should be taking care of. And so there's no. So we've got a topic that's got no definitive answer except for.
But it's hard to be a peacemaker if you're okay with war.
True.
I mean,
Both the peacemaker and the soldier are blessed, in the Bible. Some food for thought. So there's no absolute. It just comes down to each person. Like I said, I'm more of a peacemaker. I believe that we should try our best not to worry about taking over other lands, not to fight battles that are really over resources and things like this, and then over false pretexts. On the other hand, like with ISIS, yes, I believe that's justified if we're going over to defend somebody, particularly somebody who can't defend themselves. So if you can save thousands of lives, that's justifiable. But that's just me. Next week. Wish I had the theme music right here. Next week we'll be talking about Halloween. No, we will not be talking about how everybody who celebrates Halloween is evil, and it is obviously the Antichrist for doing so. We will not be talking about how it is so horrible that I didn't bring out Satan's testicles this time.
no, God.
So,
We shouldn't bring those up.
But we'll be talking about, we're actually going to be talking a little bit about pop culture with it. For instance, why is it that vampires are afraid of crosses? Why? How many different mythos are there where holding a Bible or chanting Christian things or things like that seem to have an effect on the bad guys? And why? Why is it this way? So that's going to be next week. Bring your favorite example. Favorite examples, plural. You all right over there?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Anyways, so see you next time, I guess.